Well, that was quite the twist, I dare say. Now, if for some reason you clicked on this video and you haven't watched the latest episode of RWBY, you haven't seen episode 12 of season 5, then I do recommend you to stop this video. Like, you know, do not watch it because there is spoilers in this video. So just give it a brief FYI. But anyways, that was a twist. Raven is in fact the Spring Maiden. My eyes went like wide as soon as that popped up on screen. I was completely shocked. I was like, wait, what? Like, what? Like, I'm gonna be honest here. I did not see that coming. I mean, the John stuff, that was predictable, okay? It was pretty obvious that's kind of where Rooster Teeth was taking John's character and what semblance he was gonna have. But when I saw that Raven twist, I'm like, okay, that needs a lot of clarification. There needs to be a lot of explanation to that. Like, I want the Raven backstory to how she became a maiden. I need that info. I really need that. But, anyways, though, let's talk about John for a second, because, as I've already said, John is easily one of my favorites. I like him personally because I've always thought he was a cool character, and I like the underdog. I'm a big fan of the underdog-type characters, and seeing a character like John that had this potential, had this massive aura and all that, this foreshadowing that he's going to be crazy in the future, I've been looking forward to it. And finally, we get to see that showcased in this episode. So, John is, in fact, a paladin, from what I can see. Exactly what I said in my my last review video. I said that looking at John's character design and what he's based off of and what would suit him being like a healer slash paladin makes perfect sense, because him being able to fight but also heal his allies would be a really cool thing to have. And so him being able to heal Weiss like that, it does show that even though it is predictable, he's going to be very crazy in the future, because from what we can see so far from his ability, it does seem like he needs to be in close proximity to the individual that is harmed, but he doesn't need to exactly be touching them, because he was just right over Weiss and he was healing her. You saw his aura like leaking out of him, and then he was using his ability to heal Weiss. So it does show that he doesn't need to be directly hand-to-hand with the person, but he needs to be near them. So depending on how this works and how his ability is actually functioning, he could potentially become a very big AoE healer. Just imagine this man could be like something from, you know, World of Warcraft Battle of Azeroth, when you see Adolin at the end of that trailer, and you see how he had that big aura and he brought everybody and healed them all back up and all that. What if John could do something like that? What if he could heal everybody like that? That would be really cool. I would love it. I would love it if Rooster Teeth did something like that, but in a way, that would be very OP. It would be very OP. I'm not even gonna lie, John would be very broken with something like that. However, healing powers in general are very broken. The question is how is Rooster Teeth going to balance that power? Because healing is something that can be used as a crutch. For any literature, forms of literature, healing is an ability that you shouldn't really go too far with, because depending on that, it can get characters out of life or death situations, and there's just no threat anymore. And Rooster Teeth has done a very good job with RWBY in actually having this level of threat. There has been, especially after what Cinder did to Pyrrha a while back. There has been that level of threat, like anything could happen, especially at the end of the episode, like, whoa, what just happened? And then that reveal and stuff, crazy stuff went down. But, anyways, though, with John being able to be a healer, I just do hope there is some balancing to his ability. Like, either A, him using his, like, aura to heal someone weakens him to where he can't spam it, or he has to be very close to the individual to heal someone, like he only can do, like, you know, contact, or, like, only heal one person, one target healing. And if he can do AoE, if he does that, it makes it to where, like, he just can't do it anymore. Something like that. I can actually see him maybe buffing people. I could definitely see him having, like, an ability like that if he's able to give his aura to others, because you can see clearly from that segment in the episode, he was giving his aura to Weiss. So if he can do something like that, potentially he could possibly buff people to make them stronger or something, give them like a shield or something that you would see in like an MMORPG. Something like that could possibly happen. So I do hope that is a thing. I really do hope Rooster Teeth goes down that path, because John's just a really cool character, and it'd be very amazing to see him being like a straight up paladin, buffing people, going in and all that. It's epic to me. I know. I'm too big of a fan of, you know, RPGs and stuff, but it just sounds epic personally to me. So, pushing that to the side, though, let's talk about the Hazel stuff. So, Hazel, I've already liked this character. I already thought he was very fascinating before this episode, because he was a character that was against violence. He didn't want to harm others. We've already seen this. He didn't want to put people down if he didn't have to. He didn't want to fight if he didn't have to. He was someone that was kind of against that. And he was a very different villain from what we have seen. I thought he was a really unique villain, and I was kind of curious of what led him to be like he is and why he acts like that. And we get a little bit of insight in this episode. His fighting style, however, I want to talk about that before I get into his backstory. His fighting style is very, very interesting. Definitely the highlight of this episode, besides the twist at the end and the John semblance. His fighting style just surprised me. I did not expect the man to pull out big dust crystals and just, like, inject himself with it and just go on like a big Hulk, you know, mode and just go in like Berserker. That was crazy. I was like, yo, did this man just, like, instead of like crushing it or whatever, he injected it and started going right at, you know, Ozpin. I'm like, that's pretty scary. That's really, really scary. So I like his fighting style. His fighting style, very cool. Love his voice actor. I've loved his character. He was very mysterious. So let's talk about his backstory. So his backstory, I want to be honest here, there needs to be more clarification. Rooster Teeth cannot just end his backstory right there. There needs to be more details to him. And what I mean is right now, the way his backstory is designed, it's very lackluster for such a good character. He's a very good character, and a very unique fighting style. I'd be very disappointed if that was the overall main explanation, like that was just it for his backstory. There needs to be a little bit more details, because from what we see in this episode and what we hear from Ozpin himself, Ozpin basically says that, you know, she died going off onto her own and all that, being, you know, a huntress, and, you know, it was actually technically not his fault. It's just she died and all that, and she wanted to do that. So Ozpin's kind of negated from all fault in that moment, which I don't like that, because Ozpin, there's been this ongoing theme with Ozpin for a while now, especially in the series, that many don't trust him, or, you know, the viewers shouldn't really trust Ozpin, because he's been very shady. He's done things that seem very questionable. I mean, what he did to Pyrrha and stuff, and how John should confront him about it, but he still has it, to, you know, certain other things he has done, you know, with Raven and Crow and all that. There's a lot of questions, and with that scene with what Hazel, when he was like charging Ozpin, he's like, you did this, like you of all people, what you have done. You know, he was breaking his own code. Like, he normally doesn't want to harm anyone, but then he was wanting to go after Ozpin. That just shows that something had to happen, like something really bad happened to him. And when Ozpin basically negates himself of all fault, I'm like, that can't just be it. That legit cannot be the reason why this man is so angry, especially after being such a cool character. There needs to be something else there. So I do hope that Ozpin is either lying, he didn't give the complete story, or B, there just is a lot more details that are lacking. Like, Ozpin gave us the very short story and didn't give us the full story to what was really going on. So I do hope that is the case, because just a cool character, but that's a really bad backstory. There needs to be a lot more explained to that. So, besides that, I guess we also have another mini-fight going on. We have Mercury and all that, and Emerald fighting Yang, and I really like how Yang and all that's going in, and she's having her own fight. It's basically a payback match. It's like a, you know, a revenge match against what Mercury did and all that in the previous season. So, seeing that fight is very interesting. It's definitely a highlight. But the really good stuff is towards the end of the episode, which is that twist with, you know, Raven. So, Cinder, she's trying to steal the Spring Maiden's, you know, power, obviously. We can see that going on. But, Raven reveals that she's the Spring Maiden, and we have a fight about to happen between these two individuals. And I'm very curious. I'm very curious where Rooster Teeth wants to take the story right now in this position, because we're going to have two maidens squaring off against each other. And we know maidens are very strong. We know this, personally. And it makes me wonder if, Raven might die in this fight. It would be definitely an interesting way to take the story, because let me explain. Number one, it would once again serve to give more character development for Yang, because if Raven was to die, Yang would realize that was the last thing she really ever said to her mother a couple episodes back, you know, some certain mean things, and she didn't want to be there, and that would be the last thing she ever said or saw of her. And also, since Raven technically thinks about her daughter a lot, I think her last thought in her mind would be Yang, and Yang would get Raven's ability, become a maiden, so to say. I could definitely see that being a thing. If that was to happen, that would be some really interesting and cool development for her character, and I do hope Rooster Teeth does take that path. Now, if for some reason Raven doesn't die, I would like to see Cinder die. Cinder dying would be a very interesting way to take the story, too. I mean, if Cinder went down, That would be crazy just to see Raven take her down and all that. It'd be a twist of the story, completely unexpected, and it would make you really wonder what was going to happen next, or they're both going to be okay. I mean, one of those three things are going to happen, but personally, what I hope happens is that Raven is probably going to die. That's what I kind of hope happens. So, yeah. That's basically it. The episode overall, it was a good episode, had its great twists and turns overall, and yeah, wonderful. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, how you felt about this week's episode of RWBY. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Please be honest in the comments below. If you like my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. I love you guys. Stay warm. Please be safe. Chibi out.